guys, I'm Jayma Malmy, and today I want to show you how to put together a card from start to finish using the materials that come in the new consulting kit from Close to My Heart. And this video is for those of you who are new to Close to My Heart, and primarily one of my downline who is not local is new to paper crafting, but she loves crafts. And so Kendra, this is for you and anyone else who may benefit from it. On how to cut your paper, how to stamp, how to assemble your card from start to finish. And I'm using the supplies that come in the new consultant kit because I know that's what Kendra has right now, and I know that a lot of you who are just starting out, that may be all that you have, and so I wanted to show you how to maximize those materials that you got. And I'm also going to make some suggestions on things that you may want to invest in. But one of my tips that I received when I first signed up 3.5 years ago from my upline is don't go crazy investing in supplies right off the bat. Work with what you get in the new consultant kit, because that comes with so much stuff for you to start your business. It comes with all the essentials, lots of tools, some ink, some stamp sets, some paper, and so it really has everything that you need to start out. And then once you have your first open house or some gatherings, then you can start investing your profits into your business to build your supplies, especially ink pads. I recommend investing in ink pads because they'll last you for a really long time. And then once you have all of the colors that Close to My Heart offers, then you'll always have the ink pad that you need for any new paper pack that they come out with. And they're just so versatile for so many different things. I hope that you enjoy this and that you learn something, and let me know if you have any questions. So in the consultant kit, you get the Cocoa, Lagoon, and Olive inks, and I'm adding Sunset and Tulip to it. Now if you don't have these colors, then you can go ahead and just use these in extra places where I use these two colors. We are using this, what's it called, Just For You stamp set. And this is the stamp set that comes in the Stella Workshop on the Go, and that's what comes in your kit. So I'm using the sentiment here, You Are the Light of My Life. And then in this set, I'm using the flower and these 3 petals and the leaf and this little flower center medallion. So we're going to get a lot of use, and it's going to really highlight a lot of cool things that you can do with stamps. We're also going to be using some sparkles. These come in your kit. And we are using this paper from the Stella paper pack. This is what it looks like on the back. And we're going to make use of this zip strip. Close to My Heart's papers come with this 1/2-inch zip strip on all of their papers now. And so you'll see how I'm going to use that as kind of a border in the card. And then I'm also going to add some olive cardstock, also comes in the paper pack, and some colonial white cardstock, which also comes in the paper pack. And I've shown you 2 different ways that you can cut your paper to make your card base. Now, I used a 12 by 12 piece of paper so that I could get both sizes. If you have just an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper like this, you can either cut your paper right down in the middle like this, and you'll get this size. So then when you fold it in half this way, you've got your standard 4.25 by 5.5 size card. Or you can cut it this way, and that will also give you the standard size card, but the fold will be at the top instead of on the side. So that's up to you how you want to cut it, and it just kind of depends on my mood how I do it each time. So if you're going to cut from a 12 by 12 piece of paper like I did, you'll cut this one, I cut at 5.5, and then I made another cut at 4.25, and then this, just like an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, is going to be 8.5 tall, so that once you fold it in half, it's 4.25 tall, and then this you're going to cut at 11 inches. And so what that gives you then is a scrap piece of paper here and a scrap piece of paper here, and then that's what I use to cut these pieces as the parts that I'm going to be stamping on. So really it's up to you if you want to cut an 8.5 by 11, if you want to use a card base that already comes done, but this way just gives me some extra stamping pieces. And I cut these already on my Cricut. This is, let's see, on your Cricut Art Philosophy. This one is going to be right here. So you're going to press Shift and then this key, and then you get that gray spot. And on the stamp set, it shows you to cut it at 2.5 inches. So you know what to set your size dial on your Cricut. And then this little circle is what we're going to stamp the center of the flower on, and that's just this circle right here set at 1 inch, so you don't need to press Shift or anything over here. It's just this button right here. So I cut those out ahead of time to save some time, and I'm going to show you how to cut your papers. Okay, so I've got my paper trimmer here. And first, I'm going to cut the olive card base. And to do that, I want it to be a little bit thinner than my overall card. So, because I want the edge, the colonial white edge, to stick out from the side a little bit, I'm going to do some layering. So I want to cut it, the width of my card is 4 1/4, so I'm going to cut it at 4. Because that will give me a 1/4 inch edge. Actually, it's an 1/8 inch edge because you're splitting it across the whole card. And then it's 5.5 inches tall total, so I'm going to cut this at 5 1/4. And I'm going to go ahead and cut 2 of them right now because I'm also prepping for a class. I'll set one aside. Okay, so we've got this. And then what you'll do with this paper is first cut off your zip strip, and that's cut at 1/2 inch is how long it is, how wide it is. So you can just set your paper right here at 1/2 inch and cut that right off. Oops, I got a little bit of a border. I think my paper trimmer is a little crooked. I need a new one. Okay, and then this is, the width of it is going to be at 3.5. So if you have not used a paper trimmer before, measure here are where the ruler is on your paper trimmer. Mine goes to 3. You can't actually see the 3.5, but I know it's right about here because I've done it so many times. So I'm just going to cut that at 3.5. And then the reason I did at 3.5 is because now I want a border 1/4 inch all the way around on the olive. So that means I need a 1/2 inch smaller than the olive piece. And the olive piece I had cut at 5 1/4, so 1/2 inch smaller is going to be 4 3/4. So now I've got my piece with a 1/4 inch border all the way around. And by the way, this card is based on the Mojo Monday sketch from this week, so if you aren't familiar with Mojo Monday, it's a blog at mojomonday.blogspot.com, and every week they put up a card sketch, which is fun, so it just helps you get your mojo going. So if you're stuck on kind of what card style you want to do, just go visit there and you'll get some ideas. And then you can link up your design on your blog to share with other people too. Okay, so this piece I cut at 2 1/4, and since this is two-sided, I had already cut this at 3.5 inches, so I just flipped it over, and I'm cutting this center part at 2 1/4. Alright, so now we've got this zip strip, and I'm going to also cut that at 3.5. because now most of my design is going to be on this 3.5 width piece. So I'm going to stick that there. And then I've already got my lagoon pieces cut. These I just cut scraps at 3.5 by about 1/2 inch, and I want it to look like it's kind of matting this, but this is a trick to save some paper, is you don't need to cut the piece that'll go all the way under this. You just need these little strips. And I could have also done that with this, because you're not going to see the pattern that's under this. So I could have just cut these off, you know, like right here and saved this little piece of paper, but just I didn't worry about it for this. But I do often do that to save on paper. Okay, so we've got the basic layout of our card done. And so now we need to stamp. Okay, so I've got my 2 pieces that I'm going to stamp on. And what I like to do if I'm stamping with a bunch of colors is lay them out in front of me so that this label right here is facing me. That way I know what color it is, because sometimes the colors look kind of similar when they're just laying out in front of you. So sorry, some of these are going to go off camera. I'll try to get them on there. Okay, so first I'm going to start with this flower, and I need to ink that in cocoa ink. And Close to My Heart stamps are clear, which I love. And that's what makes it easy to stamp it onto your project. I went off a little bit there, but I'm not going to worry about that. And I'm also going to use cocoa ink for this little medallion stamp onto the circle, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. If your stamp set is new, you haven't used it yet, then you're going to want to season your stamps. And what that does is basically when your stamp set is brand new, it's still got some manufacturing gunk on it. So what you can do is kind of rub it on your hand like this, or another way to do it is just kind of scrub it around on your stamp pad and then stamp it off onto scratch paper a few times, and that just helps get any manufacturing gunk. If you do this on your hand, that's helpful because the oils on your hand will then get on the stamp, and it helps your get your stamp nice and coated. Okay, so to clean your stamps, it's super easy. You use the spritz cleaner, which came in the kit. Oh, this is my old double scrubber, sorry. Yours looks a little different, but it's the same concept. You're going to spray one side, clean your stamp, and then dry it, and then you're ready to go. Alright, we are done with cocoa for now, so I'm going to put that away so that it's just out of my way. Now, what I'm going to do is stamp these petals. So you've got these 3 different petals on this stamp set, and I am just going to put them on the 1-inch block. This 1-inch block doesn't come in your kit. I recommend getting it because it's just so nice with the smaller stamps, because you'll find that if you have a block that's too big for your stamps, it gets kind of annoying and cumbersome, and then you could get ink on the block and have to wipe it off before stamping, and it's just nice to have a small block that fits your little small stamps. So I'll start with the lagoon, and again you can see exactly where you're stamping. So I'm going to stamp these opposite each other. Clean off the stamp and go on to the next one. You can do all one petal if you want. I just wanted the different patterns. I'm going to close the lagoon stamp pad now too, so I have one loss to worry about. And now I'm going to go on to sunset. Now again, if you don't have sunset ink, because that didn't come in your kit, you can just do the lagoon all the way around if you want. Or do lagoon and olive every other petal. But I think inks are a good thing to invest in because they'll last you a really, really long time. And you want to build your ink collection because that's how you get all the different colors with Close to My Hearts to match all your Close to My Heart paper and other products. Alright, and now I'm going to do this last one in Tulip. Okay. Now I also want some leaves. So I'm going to take this scratch piece of paper, and this is one of the scrap pieces of paper that I was talking about that I got from that original 12 by 12 piece that I cut. So I'm going to put the leaf on my block, and I'm going to ink it in olive ink, and I'm just going to stamp it twice. Now this leaf isn't on the Art Philosophy Cricut cartridge, so I couldn't cut it out on that. I'll have to cut it out by hand, but it's such a simple stamp that's not hard to do. You also probably got these scissors in your kit. These are awesome scissors for detail cutting. The kits right now aren't coming with them and haven't for the last week or two because we had so many consultants sign up recently that they ran out. But they will be ordered again and replaced in the kits. So if you don't have these scissors, I recommend ordering some. They're $10, $9.95, and they're really, really great scissors for detail cutting like this. I love them, and I use them all the time. They're really good for cutting ribbon, too, because they're so sharp that, you know how when you cut ribbon with a not-so-sharp scissors, it gets all frayed, so these are really good for that. Okay, so I've got all my stamped images now, and I'm going to put the card together. Actually, first I want to ink the edges of each piece, and I'm going to use my Cocoa stamp pad to do that. I have two Cocoa stamp pads. This is an older one that I use now just for workshops because they get kind of beat up at workshops, and I use for inking edges because when you're inking edges, you're pressing on the stamp pad, and eventually over time it's going to get kind of I don't know if you can see, there's little like bumps in mine. So I've got this in my consultant kit 3.5 years ago. So it's been a while, and it's been now retired from my everyday use, and I just use it for inking and workshops. So I'm going to go ahead and ink around the edges of every paper that I cut because I like the way that it kind of gives a finished look to your project. Makes it look a little distressed. And these sponge daubers are available in the catalog. This is another great investment. I love using these sponge daubers. The sponge came in the consultant kit, but I like these better. They're just easier to use. They're not as messy. And it actually is a more dense sponge. It's not as airy as the sponge from the kit. But if you do use a sponge from the kit, you can cut it into quarters or even eighths so that you get actually more sponge out of it. These pieces I'm just going halfway around because remember these are going to be tucked underneath some other pieces. All of the cardstock that Close to My Heart carries now is or all of the paper rather, sorry, is cardstock weight. So this paper is nice and heavy. It's easy to hold in your hand while you ink. When I first started with Close to My Heart and I learned how to ink the edges of my papers, it took a little bit of time to get used to being comfortable with it and what works for me in holding the paper. So just be patient as you learn to do this, and you'll find ways that make it that you're comfortable with. You don't have to make sure that this is absolutely perfect. The idea is to make it look kind of worn and distressed, so you don't need absolute even coverage all the way around. I like to distress in cocoa and chocolate. Those are kind of the more antique-y colors. So if there's, cocoa is kind of a darker brown with a green tinge almost to it. That's what I'm using now. And then chocolate is more of a true brown. Or any other dark color that's in the paper that I'm using, then that's what I'll use to ink. Sometimes I do tone on tone, like I might, use olive ink to distress the olive paper. So it just depends on what look you want, or what ink you have. Okay, I'm even going to ink these pieces here that I cut out. Especially this. You know how I went off a little bit right here? Well, now that I'm inking this, you're not really even going to notice that. I like to say when you're paper crafting, you can always cover up your mistakes. I make mistakes all the time. I'll get ink on something where I don't want it, or cut something the wrong size, or stamp off like I did here. And there's always a way to kind of cover it up. It is handmade after all, so nothing's going to be absolutely perfect. Okay, so that took a little bit of extra time, but I really think that the effort is worth it. I don't always ink my edges like for scrapbooking because it does get time consuming. But for a card like this, it's not that many pieces, so I like to do it. Okay, so now to put the cards together, or the pieces together. So I have this roller adhesive. I got this at Hobby Lobby. I like it pretty well. I also like the kind that's red and it says scrapbook adhesives on it. Close to My Heart sells Tombow. That's pretty good too. So just get an adhesive like this because a glue stick is gonna kind of wave your cardstock. So I don't recommend using a glue stick. Use a tape runner. And then Close to My Heart also has this Bonding Memories glue. You got this in the kit. Mine is old and almost gone, but this is also good. You can also use this for stickifying your Cricut mats. I just made up a word. But once your Cricut mat gets used, so it's not sticky anymore, just put that Bonding Memories on, cover it with the whole thing and let it dry for a little while, and it will be good as new. It's awesome. It's kind of like a semi-permanent glue, I guess. Alright. So I just want to have an even border. And notice I'm putting the pieces together while it's not on the card base. I'm putting these pieces together first. I'm probably using too much glue. Really, you just need the adhesive like in the corners and then like in the middle, unless you're working on something like a mini book or a card box that's going to be handled a lot. You don't need quite as much adhesive. And especially if you're doing workshops and you have a lot of people using your adhesive, if they didn't bring their own, then you know, you don't want people going all the way across the whole thing. Oh, you know what? I forgot to put these down first. Okay, so let's see if I can just stick this under there. Alright, I was a little bit off in my cutting here, so I'm just going to fix that. See, this is what I mean. There's always a way to kind of fix stuff. It's going to look a little crooked, but oh well. Again, I used too much adhesive there, but sometimes it's easy, especially on my paper cutter, since I don't actually have a 3.5 inch mark. It's easy to get it just a little bit off. Now, let me make sure this is the right size before I glue it down. Perfect. Okay. This was our zip strip, and I'm going to lay it just on the bottom here. Alright, so that is our card base, or the card design, and now I'm going to fold the card base. I'm going to use this one that has the fold at the top, and I like to use a bone folder to get that really good and pressed. And I'm sorry that this is upside down for you. Okay, so now this is not going to have as big of a border as this. It's a 1/4 inch all the way around, so that's 1/8 of an inch, or 1/4 inch total, so 1/8 of an inch border. Alright, so now that is our finished card base. So we want to add our pretty little pieces here. So I'm going to, I had already stamped on one side because I did this earlier. So basically you're just going to put that there. I like how this side turned out better, so I'm going to ink the edges of this side and use that as my top. Okay. Alright, another little trick to make this have a little bit more dimension is curl up the petals. I'm just taking a normal pin and I'm just rolling a little bit, and that gives the petals a little bit of poof. It may flatten in the mail if you're going to mail this, but it looks cute for now. Alright, and I'm doing this upside down, so I hope it looks okay. Alright, now I'm going to use foam tape for this. If you don't have foam tape, you can use just regular adhesive. But I want to give this little dot some extra dimension. So I'm using some foam tape. And I'm going to stick it right on there. And to give it a little extra sparkle, I'm going to use one of the sparkles that is in this sparkles pack that you got. And I'm going to just stick it in the middle there. Okay, looks cute, but we need a couple of leaves just as a finishing touch. So I like to just kind of play with where I want them. And add some glue. Stick them in there. Okay, now we just need to add our sentiment. This is going to be a Mother's Day card, and Happy Mother's Day, you know, I have a Happy Mother's Day stamp and I could have worked that into the design, but I wanted to work with stamps that you have in your new consultant kit. Or if you are not a consultant yet, then stamps that you will get in the new consultant kit, or you can purchase separately. So I'm just going to stamp this right here. You are the light of my life. Now you have a finished Mother's Day card. This is a great card to do for a gathering. You're showing this fun stamp set. You're using stamps that you've got in your kit. I hope that this was helpful for you in creating a card from start to finish. If you are not a consultant yet, then I invite you to visit my website at jamamalmy.ctmh.com, and you can click on opportunities and it'll give you some more information on becoming a Close to My Heart consultant and joining yourself. You can also find a lot of information that I've posted on my blog at jamamalmy.com, and at the top you can click Join My Team, and then I also have a link at the top on questions about joining Close to My Heart, or FAQs. So I've tried to answer any questions that you might have about becoming a consultant, and if you have any other questions whatsoever, please feel free to contact me. You can email me, jamalu@gmail.com, or visit my Facebook page and write me a note there. That is facebook.com/playingwithpaperctmh. And I'm here to answer any questions that you might have. I have a team all over the country. I am in Washington, in Seattle. I have team members in Southern California, which is where I'm from, in Arkansas, in Illinois. And I'm here to help you build your business and be as successful as you want to be. So, if you have any questions, let me know, and I hope that you enjoyed this video.